Hi, my name is Sarah McNary, and I'm here in the classroom of Copper Canyon Quilting to talk to you about the Boxy Tote class. I'm so excited that you've signed up for it. By now, you already have your Quilts Illustrated pattern, and we've already emailed you this compendium checklist that I made. Now remember, this does not replace this. This just explains how I'm going to teach it in class. So essentially, there's 3 steps. We have the outer bag that we're going to make, we have the inner bag that we're gonna make, and then we're gonna put them together. So it's that simple. But there's 5 things that I wanna talk to you about before we get going. One of those things is these Wonder Clips. If you don't already have some, please buy some. You can get them here at Copper Canyon Quilting, and they make all the difference in working with thick fabrics. Whether you're just clipping on your paper pieces to keep track, or whether you're actually putting the pieces together in order to sew them, Wonder Clips will save you much better than pinning. So make sure you get those. Now before you come to class, it would be ideal if you could cut everything out ahead of time. This pattern is wonderful. They actually give you a cut sheet that you can cut apart with a pair of scissors, and each little piece of paper will tell you what the piece is, how big it should be, and it's color coded. So when you cut, you just simply clip that onto the piece and set it to one side. Many of the pieces have similar dimensions, so it's essential that you do it when you're feeling refreshed, when no one's talking to you, when you have some quiet time. Cut accurately and label accurately. It will help you. Number 2, if possible, I would like you to get all of your foam fused to your fabric. And so one way you can do that, obviously, is with the iron, and that works great. But if you've chosen a foam that doesn't fuse, that's okay. You don't have to use an adhesive. You can just simply place it on top of the fabric and then do an 1/8 inch seam around the entire perimeter to anchor it in place before you start your quilting. Which brings me to number 3. If you can, do your quilting at home. Quilting is time consuming, and you probably don't need my help for it. Sherry did this piece, and it's lovely. I don't know if you can see the leaves in here, but it's beautiful and creative. But she also did something that was very simple and very effective visually with this cross hatching, where it's just straight lines. This is time consuming to do, but lovely, and don't use class time to do it if you don't have to. One note about that quilting. In the pattern, it's going to tell you to quilt the top 8 inches, and some people get confused because the bag appears wider than it is tall. And the reason is because when we sew that center seam, this forms the side of that bag. So that 8 inches at the top is actually across the 12 inches. And that's because the pocket, when it's done, is going to cover the part below. If you want to quilt the whole thing, feel free to do that, but you don't have to. All right, that brings us to number 4. You have a decision to make about the handles you would like for your bag. You can make them the way the pattern has you make them, and that's what these look like on Sherry's bag. Or if you'd prefer to make them out of a purse quality vinyl like I did here, I'll show you how to do those in class as well. Those can also be made out of fabric like I did here. You just need these little findings. You can get them online or even at Hobby Lobby if you're local here in town. You can get those. So that's an option to think about how you'd like to do that. The last thing I want to talk about is the pockets. When the pockets are put together, there's some different kinds. So this pocket here goes across the length of the entire bag, and so the side seam is encased in that construction. And so for that one, you can quilt it all the way through just straight with the top and the bottom. For the other pockets, these top stitch pockets, you can't. What the pattern is going to ask you to do is to sew these 2 pieces together. Notice they're not the same length, even though they're the front and back of the pocket. Instead, once the seam has been sewn and we put our foam in here, this backing, the lining, will tip over the top and make a little faux binding, and that's the part you see here. But when it's time to quilt this, we're not going to quilt all the way through. We're actually going to hold it on the foam, put this lining back, and we're going to quilt this area. Then we'll fold it over, stitch the side seams, pillowcase, turn it inside out, and it'll be ready to top stitch on the bag. Don't worry about that too much. I'll tell you more about it in class. Lastly, you've got some creative thinking to do with your pocket design. So I want you to be thinking about, what is this bag going to be used for? Are you going to need narrow little pockets inside for knitting needles? Maybe you're going to put your rotary cutter in there, so you need to know the distance that handle takes. Maybe you want to use this for your iPad, and so you would prefer to have a wide pocket in there. Have those dimensions in mind when you come to class so that you can make your bag divisions, the pocket divisions in the bag, I should say, exactly the way you want them to be. I'll give you an example. The pattern has you sew right here to make the 3 pockets on the outer bag. That's a great idea, except for my cell phone wouldn't fit. So I had to unpick that stitching so that I could put it in. If you'd like to have a zippered pocket, perhaps on the side or maybe on the inside, to keep some pocket money for the next time you're at quilt camp, plan ahead for that, and we can put that in class. I'm so excited you're coming. I can't wait for you to take this class, and if you have questions, call us at Copper Canyon Quilting. Bye.